Hello and welcome to Rolling with Two. I'm Will, and with me as always is person player
Sarah.
And today we're doing a two-player perspective and accessibility for dice cards. If you want to know our review and our opinion there, check out Rolling with Reviews, Dice Cards. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right, Dice Cards features 50 different roll and write mini games. Each player will play 6 of them during a game. On a turn, 2 dice are rolled, a red and black die. Each player chooses 1 die to write on one of their cards. After 50 turns, the game ends and the player with the most points wins. Okay, so how does the game change for 2 players?
So for 2 players, there's actually more options because you play the standard and there's no change there.
Yeah, you just shuffle randomly.
Or you can choose to play head-to-head, and that's the only time you can actually just play 2 players. You can't play any other player count. And head-to-head does have options where they say, don't play with these mini games.
Right, but basically is both players would play the same exact 6 cards.
Yes.
And that's why it would be called head-to-head.
And there is no bot. When it comes to needing a bot, like for the solo play, it's a chart of scores so you can see how you did.
Yep. Okay, so issues at a 2-player count. We feel in general most of this is going to be player count neutral, which again is a good or bad thing depending on your perspective. But one of the things that is kind of bad at 2 players is it's kind of easy to lose track of the rounds.
Yeah.
So,
because there's 50 rounds.
Yes. And now there is a round tracker, but if both people forget to write it, or in this case with Will and I'm marking both cards, so it's just me.
I have an abacus off to the side.
That's true. Will was
I constantly knock over.
He tried.
And then I ask you, I was like, what was the number I was on?
Right. So no matter what kind of extra method, having more players at the table means it's easier to verify which round you're on and make sure everybody gets the same number of rounds and turns of the game.
Yeah.
So that's just going to be easier with more players to verify. But what it does well is it's easier to set, or it's faster to set up. So one of the things we do, since there's 2 copies of every card, and one player is never allowed to have more than 1 copy of a card, we just leave the 2 decks separate.
Yeah, so 50 cards and 50 cards.
Right. So Will shuffles a deck, I shuffle my deck, I get 9 random cards, he gets 9 random cards, and then we pick 6 from there. And it just eliminates the possibility of drawing 2 of the same card.
Yeah. I mean, what happens in a higher player count is you shuffle both of the 50 card deck together to get a 100 card deck. Yeah. And if there is a copy, you just discard to draw a new one.
Right.
So it's not hard or anything, but this ensures that we don't even have to take that step.
Right. And that's why it's a little nice perk for being at a 2-player count.
Yes.
We also feel that even though all the gameplay is simultaneous, at 8 players, which is the max count, it will probably take longer because the game is going to go as fast or as slow as your slowest player.
Yeah. Isn't that right, Nanaman? Taking your time, not making a decision.
So theoretically, with 2 people, it will be a faster game. That's assuming one of the players doesn't have terrible AP, which sometimes I do get, but there you go. I think that's it for the 2-player experience because, again, it's a roll and write. Most roll and writes player count doesn't really matter.
Yes, there's usually little to no player interaction.
Yeah, there's no player interaction here. It's just do your thing.
Most of the time it's like, I drafted a die so you can't choose it.
Right, and that doesn't even happen
here. That doesn't even happen here. Everybody shares the same black and red die rolled. What are they separately? What are they combined? You make decisions from there.
Right. And if you modify a die, you only modify it for yourself. You don't actually physically modify the die for everyone else.
Right.
Okay. Accessibility. So speaking of dice, they are red and black. Some people have trouble with these 2 colors. Unfortunately, Will is one of those people.
Yeah, I have extreme colorblind vision issues. So yeah, they both look black to me.
Thankfully, we did run it by a couple of our friends who didn't have issues with red and black. One of them usually has issues with red and brown. But these 2, because it's red and black, were distinct enough. But we want to point it out just in case you know you have red and black issues, because some of the mini games call out colors, not all of them. So one thing we're thinking about is there are enough, again, different mini games, that if you come across one that wants you to compare red and black, like you need to get, 1 through 6 in red and 1 through 6 in black, you could just skip that and try to find another one that just wants numbers and doesn't care what the color is.
Of course, usually the card does say in words red and black.
Right, but the problem being is down where the puzzle is, where you're filling things in, it's just using the color.
Ah, yeah.
So like if it has boxes that are red and boxes that are black, it's just an outline
Right.
of the box.
Yeah, because if it was just the dice issue, you could simply solve it by, well, I'm going to take out, let's say, the red one, put in a die with pips.
Right.
That's the red die now.
Right.
And so one has pips and one has actual numerals written out.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about one that has it was the invaders or something, and each of the aliens is either red or black, and if you can't see those apart, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the text get a little small. Nothing like overtly bad. It's just sometimes it seems to get a little...
It's on poker-sized cards,
Yeah.
so there's not a lot of real estate on there to write everything, which is why some of the little mini games are crowded.
Right. And so some of them being small, I think the only one that was really challenging was the hidden numbers. So basically it's a picture with numbers hidden in it, and that being on a poker-sized card is really small. The good news is the back of every card has a scoring guide, and for that one they made sure to point out where every single number is, so you've got that. And also at worst they has a bubble at the top for 1 through whatever. I think you can go up to 8.
You could just mark that off.
You could just mark the bubble for the number you rolled and not worry about it. It just kind of devalues the theme of it, which is finding hidden things in a picture, but it shouldn't stop you from playing the game.
Yeah.
It just is a little disappointing there. Otherwise, there are some that have some spatial aspects, so if you have some issues with those, you might want to skip them. There's polyominoes, drawing lines, making paths, so those could be a little difficult. I know there were some that we skipped for you because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to describe this to you.
Right.
It was just not worth that effort. Cognitively, some of them will have math or wordsmithing. Will really liked the math ones.
Yeah.
I tended to avoid them.
Those were super easy, and Sarah's like, oh, those are big inconvenience.
Yeah, I'm not dealing with that right now. Then when it comes down to it, the rules aren't really going to help you with questions about the mini games. There is a scoring example, like I said, on the back of every one of them, but even then, there's no room for them to get really verbose. So they do have an FAQ on their website, which is slowly growing, and they have a contact form. So if you really can't get help between the FAQ and or Board Game Geek, send them a message, and that way they can grow their FAQ.
Yeah.
And then lastly, you might have some mobility issues. I mean, I think you already pretty know if you're good with a roll and write or not, but with this one, you're dealing with 7 cards. 6 game cards and 1 tracking card, and that tracking card has got a lot on it.
It has to hold 50 numbers.
Yep. Oh, one more thing, sorry. The cards are kind of hard to shuffle because of the coding, but you need the coding to make the game replayable.
Yes.
So, but what the game does right, there's a high contrast on the numbers on the dice.
Yeah, like I said, it both looks black with white numbers to me. So, big numbers, nice.
And we think there isn't really any one mini game that is really hard to understand. You just may not have it as a preference. Like you may not like to make words or do math or draw lines or, things like that.
Or I know for Sarah, when it gets late enough, what she's willing to put up with.
Yes.
Like, no.
Yeah.
No. You're getting a different one. You're
yeah,
but I want to play it. No, you don't.
My bandwidth is not enough for me to play my game and help you with yours at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's really nice that it has a variety of topics. I mean, we saw sports, we saw cooking, just all sorts of different things, and a variety of play styles. Like we've said, there's ones that have math or wordsmithing or other things with numbers, and some that they tried to pull on that were not necessarily things with numbers, but So there's a lot of choices, like we've been saying. So you could always have it really open-ended that if you draw something you don't like, you can draw a new one. Even at 8 players, there's extra cards.
Right.
Oh, the pens are really nice because they're fine tipped. And the erasers that come with are really good. So right now, at least we've played it a few times now, everything has erased from the cards. So we're not sure the long-term quality of them, but for the few games we've played, it's been fine so far.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and it's all open information. So if you really are having trouble with anything, you can hopefully ask somebody else at the table.
Yes. All right. 2 players.
2 players, I would say yes. I think there's going to be times where that might be a preferred player count for some people.
Yes, because it moves faster.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we want to say that you have to be fine with a player count neutral game.
Yes.
Where it doesn't really matter how many other players there are. But if you're fine with that, 2 players, yes, is perfectly
Exactly.
fine. Accessibility.
That's going to be mostly yes. I think if you have trouble with black and red, the parts of this are not going to be easy for you, so you might have to skip those. And for mobility, you already know if roll and writes are good or not for you. And this one might be on the more challenging spectrum, considering everything that you're doing constantly for 50 turns.
Yes. Yeah, this game has one of the weird elements where, because there are so many mini games, I feel perfectly fine. Like, if you don't like that puzzle, I don't care if you don't play it.
Yeah.
Choose a different one.
Yeah.
Because there's so many. In a lot of other cases, that would really irk me, because it's like, well, that's part of the game I can't play. This game, they're not that complicated, so therefore it's not worth the invested effort of being upset about
Right.
for them.
Right. Nor insisting that, oh, you drew that, so
Yes.
you have to play that. No. Why?
Why?
There's so many choices. So
Yes.
just go with that.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, and Sarah?
Yes.
Now, I'm just going to spoil this. One of the things I don't like is the name of this game.
I know you
'Cause
were
it's
kind of grumpy when you said it at the beginning, and I was like, oh no, people are going to turn it off already.
It's so generic. Dice cards is probably even hard to search for. What would you call this game?
Wow, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Well, the problem is so many people just use the word roll and write in the name of the game that I think they were trying to be clever
Yes.
with saying, well, yes, it uses dice and yes, it's on cards, but we are not going to put roll and write in the name of the game. So I don't know, because overall there's not a lot of theme, except each little mini game does have a little theme. So do you have any suggestions?
I would call it Filled In Worlds.
I'm not sure that would evoke necessarily what this game is, but it is definitely interesting.
Well, each little mini game is a little slice of a world, whether you're fighting aliens or herding chickens or doing some math or building a pyramid.
Or baking some cookies.
Or baking some cookies.
Or muffins or
There's
whatever.
actually a real recipe in that game.
I'm actually curious if that could actually cook with that recipe.
But it's like little slices of the world that's being filled in.
Huh.
So I'd call
Yeah.
it Filled In Worlds.
I like that.
And why would you ever roll with just one when you can be
Rolling with two.
If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with Two, that's TWO. We're on Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Discord, we have a channel on Tabletop Express. Check the show notes for the invite link.
If you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.